Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of The Snake Pit. I'm your host, Son of Bat, and it's been about 6 months since our last review, upload, podcast, whatever you want to call it. To our faithful viewers who tuned in for weekly uploads, I want to personally apologize for not staying consistent with you guys. Truth be told, I kind of filled my plate with way too much stuff. I ended up watching way too many movies, playing way too many games, and, reading too many books and comics in between, so that I couldn't honestly make reviews at a consistent level. It would have basically just been inconsistent motor mouth, like one after another, and I didn't really want to be, careless with my uploads. I kind of wanted to, take my time and really, do a good job. It also didn't help that me and Son of Phantom were fucking doing a Friday the 13th, somewhat retrospective. I forgot how much of a chore that franchise is to get through, especially if you've seen our reviews. The first three movies were kind of a slog. It wasn't until part 4 shit started getting good. We watched part 4, but we got way too high and we didn't end up doing the review. We kind of pushed it off and figured the next time we'd link up, we'd do it. Which kind of sucks because Friday 4 is awesome. Friday 5 is awesome. I don't want to go too far into it. There's a few later ones that are pretty shitty and a few that are pretty good. But we kind of just got burned out from those movies. And like I said, there was also, in October I wanted to do a 31 Days of Horror because every year I've tried to do it, I've just failed miserably. And this is the first year I can successfully say I've done it. Some days I'd watch one movie. If I had a day off and had the time, I could maybe fit 2 to 4 movies in. But the list just kept growing and growing, and there was no reasonable or realistic way that I could have been, doing reviews without them coming out like shit. Another thing that kind of threw a monkey wrench into the plan was Terrifier 3's release in October. That movie was somewhere in the middle of my 31 Days of Horror, so I wanted to do a review of that movie so fucking bad. But then again, I wanted to review it with some of the boys. I also, realized in hindsight I hadn't done a review for All Hallows Eve, Terrifier 1, or Terrifier 2, so it would have been kind of weird to just start with 3. So yeah, I pushed that aside. And again, I don't want to make excuses, but it's a prime example of, trying to do a balancing act. Just try to stay consistent. You really gotta keep a small plate, because if you start putting way too much shit on there's no way you're realistically going to cover everything in a timely fashion. But I feel like this 6 months have been a pretty good break. I feel like I've gotten my bearings. My schedule at work has been, really good. I've started to get used to it. So hopefully now I can get back into doing the reviews. Hopefully now Phantom can come back into doing the reviews more frequently. But again, I don't want to make these promises because we are both very busy with our jobs. But I can say when the time is there, we will be back at it like a motherfucking crack addict. But I got a lot of reviews on the table that I've been wanting to do for like the past 6 months. Some of the ones that I have are Dead Hands Dig Deep, which would basically be the third part of the Kettle Cadaver saga on this channel. The first two, of course, being the music video compilations Edwin Borsheim released with his band Kettle Cadaver, with all the fucking thrashy black metal industrial self-mutilation and all that good shit. Dead Hands Dig Deep is a documentary, though, about Edwin Borsheim, in the last few years of his life before he ultimately committed suicide. Really dark shit, but a very good documentary, and gives you a little bit more insight into the mindset and psyche of Edwin. That one I can't wait to review. I also got Until the Light Takes Us, which, for those of you who don't know, is about the second wave of black metal, one of my absolute favorite subgenres in all of heavy metal. Not so much for the controversy, but more so for that raw, disgusting, ice cold sound. Don't mean to plug, but I've been getting into doing some black metal music myself, vocals here and there for my band Fractured Cunt. So that's also been where my time's been going. But now I'm just trying to balance everything out. So hopefully those documentaries will get a review soon. I was also toying with the idea of doing TV shows, also kind of branching out and making this more than just a specifically horror channel. I mean, as you guys can see with the last review being the Punisher comics, I've been trying to go for pretty much anything dark or fucked up or twisted is going to get a review. So looking at some TV shows, I was thinking, Law and Order SVU, I got a few seasons. That could be, something if you guys are interested. CSI, I mean, I fucking love that show. Whether you guys want it or not, I might do a review on the first season. And then, surprisingly enough, 24, but not the first few seasons. I'm thinking more the post 9/11 24, like season 4 to 5. Those you may not think it's very scary, but I specifically remember being a kid when that nerve gas mall episode came out, and it scared the ever-living shit out of me. I remember catching that episode on TV when my dad was watching it, and then from that point on, I became, I guess, a 24 fan because I'd watched everything up until about season fucking 9, I think it was. But yeah, so that might happen somewhere down the line. The more dark seasons, obviously, the ones that I guess I would say induce paranoia, because I feel like that kind of might be pretty sick for the channel, but who knows. I also got a couple comic books like Creepy, Eerie, and Tales from the Crypt. I picked up some volumes of those back in October for like super cheap, and I was thinking maybe I'll cover those. Of course, also going to cover some Punisher comics, mainly the Garth Ennis run, because it's very much like the '05 video game in tone. It is very violent, very gory, very dark, but some of the best written Punisher stories, in my opinion, come from those Max volumes, so I would love to cover that. Speaking of the older Punisher comics, there's one that I've been looking for about 10, 15 years. And I remember it because the cover was so fucking wild. It's like the Punisher ducking away from this guy who's like self-immolating. And I actually found the comic at a local store a couple months ago. Like it blew me away because I was just holding this and looking at the cover, and it took me back to being like 9-10 years old. But it's called Firefight Part 3 of 3, also known Punisher issue 84. That's going to get covered. I'm looking at it right now. It's essentially hanging up like wall art because that took me forever to fucking find. But yeah, that's going to happen at some point. Video games too. I mean, thankfully I've come in contact with or acquisition of a PSP for Christmas, which I've always wanted since 2005. Been waiting 20 years for this fucking thing. Finally got one, so now I can actually experience UMDs. So if you guys want, a review on PSP games or UMDs, like the movies and the TV shows, I've been getting them for pretty cheap. A lot of horror movies, a lot of gory movies. So, I might do the UMD edition of a movie and the DVD version as a side-by-side if you're interested to see how they compare. A few of them that I got coming in are fucking like Saw, Cabin Fever, Hostel 1 and 2. I think I got some South Park episodes, Kill Bill, and Sin City. But the one that I'm really hyped for is 28 Days Later. Of course, I have the DVD for that. If I get a VHS, I'll actually have that movie on every, I think, media, like every form of media they put it out on, which would be sweet. Which segues into another thing. Fucking 2025 has me hyped for 28 years later. I've been waiting for this movie since 2007, as most of you have been with 28 Weeks Later. And since that trailer dropped, I have been itching for this movie to come out. Now we're in 2025. We're only a few months away and it's going to be out. I am fucking hyped. I haven't been this hyped from a movie trailer in a long fucking time. They did the right thing by not showing too much. It created the perfect amount of tension and it added, nothing but questions in my mind. It takes me back to those days, not that long ago, but it feels like long ago when, studios put out decent trailers that didn't spoil too much and the internet would go in a frenzy trying to decode it and figure out what's going on with it. This movie has been in production. I mean, I don't know about production, but it's been in waiting for a long fucking time. So, hype could be part of it, but it also looked really fucking good. Danny Boyle, of course, is returning. He's the guy who did the first movie. 28 Weeks Later, though, was also amazing. Anyone who says that movie sucks or is not as good as the first can literally blow me. It is fucking as good, if not better in some respects, because of how bleak and how open the ending was. It spawned a bunch of comic books, which will also get reviews, hopefully, such as 28 Days Later, The Aftermath, which sort of serves as a sequel / prequel to 28 Days and Weeks. I don't know how much of that's going to get retconned with 28 Years Later. I don't know how much of it's going to get explained, but let's just say I'm fucking hyped. I might even start collecting the, I call it the Selena Saga, which was the second 28 Days Later comic to come out, I believe, by Boom. That one, while having good moments, was not as much of an enjoyable read to me as The Aftermath, because the Selena Saga kind kind of just changed her character up in a few ways. Like, it was really weird. She kind of turned into a cock hopping slut, and like Jim disappears from the fucking comic. Like, there's just a lot of open shit and changes that I just didn't like. So I remember it had good parts, but I don't think I'm gonna track down the whole thing because it's running for some pretty fucking high money right now, especially because, you know, everyone's trying to get the DVD and everything else. But yeah, once that UMD comes in, I'm covering that. Of course, once 28 years later comes out, I'm covering that. But what do you guys think? Like, do you think there's going to be giant zombies in it? Do you think that's just forced perspective? Do you think like they evolved? Like, where do you think it's going to go? Because I mean, I'm hoping we're hitting a whole world infection after the implication of 28 weeks later. I want to, like, obviously it's going to be set in England, but I hope they kind of touch up on what happened to the rest of the world. I hope there's, you know, some post fucking apocalyptic vibe to it. I hope it's not just England that got hit, you know what I mean? But yeah, no, I'm hyped for it. However, there are some caveats to it. This is part one of a pre-announced trilogy, and if those of you know me in real life, you know I fucking hate pre-announced trilogies. I think it is the ultimate display of fucking greed and arrogance that a studio or a director can do. It's just stupid. It's like, it's what ruined Halloween, it's what ruined The Exorcist, and it's what's ruining The Strangers. I mean, case in point, they didn't even finish the Exorcist trilogy because that first movie was so fucking bad. But yeah, I mean, this could be good. The other thing that's got me is, why is Nia DaCosta directing part 2? I mean, she's not a great director. She did that one fucking bunk Marvel movie, and then she did that subpar Candyman remake, which, I mean, it had its moments. I mean, if you've seen my review of it, you'll know that I said it had some good parts, but ultimately she just kind of puts her foot in her mouth with really bad dialogue. Feels like it was written by a fresh out of college fucking I know the whole world hippie. It just wasn't good. So I'm kind of scared to see where she's going to go. However, Danny Boyle seems to have been on set for the back-to-back filming of 1 and 2. So let's just say she's a hired gun, and hopefully Danny Boyle was doing a lot of the directing there, because I really, really don't want to see her do what she did to Candyman with this series. But that's all I'll say about 28 years later. Still a few months away. A lot can happen. Part 2, of course, is going to be called The Bone Temple. Kind of showed the Bone Temple in the first trailer. At least I think that's what it is. That looks fucking cool. So who knows? It could be fucking cool. 2024 in general to me wasn't really a great year for horror. I mean, there's a lot of people who are like sucking it left, right, and center, like, oh, it was great, it was all this smart, great movies. But like, realistically, there was maybe about 4 that I thought were like good. The rest of them I can kind of just do without. Now, the 4 that I'd say would be good were like the new VHS movie, I think it was called VHS Beyond, In a Violent Nature, Terrifier 3, Long Legs, and to a degree Alien Romulus. I gotta rewatch Romulus because I love the Alien franchise. I love the lore around it, but like, truthfully speaking, the movies, like, there's a lot of like not great. Like, Alien 1 and 2 are amazing. 3 is good. 4 is not great. Covenant is a fucking nightmare. Prometheus was good. But yeah, I gotta rewatch Romulus because it was either a good movie or I was just tripping and it was a shit movie. I don't know. I gotta recheck it. But yeah, on top of that, like, if you're expecting a Nosferatu review, that ain't gonna fucking happen. All I'll say is that I'm a huge fan of the 1922 silent film. I think everyone who loves horror should watch that. The 79 remake, I have only seen a few times, and I actually recently just got into that movie like a couple of years ago, but it has grown to be one of my favorite vampire movies and remakes. So when I heard that Eggman was going to do another remake of this movie, I kind of was just like, I was kind of like, you know, just like weary. I was like, again, another remake? Are we really going to just keep doing this? But since Eggman directed it, I kind of had high hopes because, you know, The Witch, The Northman, and The Lighthouse were all great. So I was like, you know, he's probably going to do a good job with it. Add William Dafoe into the fold, and I'm like, okay, this most likely will be a good movie. And then I went to go see it. And man, that fucking shit was empty. It looked amazing. Cinematography was on point, like how it is with all of Eggman's movies. But like, for fuck's sakes, it was an empty as fuck, all over the place movie. Lily Rose Depp can't act for shit. She was a pure nepotism hire. And I really, really don't understand why we keep hiring I don't understand how the industry keeps hiring googly-eyed fuckwit Skarsgård for all these horror movies. I mean, he was shit in It. He was fucking shit in The Crow. And he was shit in this. Motherfucker didn't even look like Nosferatu. He looked like Stoker's version of Dracula. This movie literally should have just been called Dracula. Nosferatu is supposed to look like a fucking rat, how he looks in the 2279, and to a lesser extent Shadow of a Vampire, which to me is the real third Nosferatu movie. Yeah, this Egger movie was just empty. It just wasn't good. I did not like it. It was a chore to fucking sit through, and it ain't getting a review. I ain't even gonna put a number on it. It just wasn't good. I will review the first two if that's what you want, or Shadow of a Vampire. I will gladly do that. I'll even review Nosferatu: The Wrath of Malachi, which is a pretty underrated PC game on Steam, but I will not review that new movie. Not gonna fucking put myself through that again. Yeah, but I also got another one. If you guys liked my fucking true crime podcast, the one I did about the Columbine iceberg, I was also going to do one about the Virginia Tech massacre. I actually have all my notes compiled. I have a script written out. I have the images already edited and everything, so like I can do it tier by tier like in the last video. I just never got around to filming it. I think I overwhelmed myself because I knew the Columbine video took me about 6 hours to make. This one will probably be about the same, but if you guys want that, I will do this iceberg video. I picked VTech or Virginia Tech because not a lot of people talk about it. There's a lot of spooky coincidences and conspiracies surrounding it, just like Columbine. So I figured, in keeping with the theme of sadistic, fucked up domestic terrorists, why not cover Virginia Tech next? So that is something that's going to be up for review soon. I don't know exactly when it's going to come out, but it definitely will be there. I had a buddy on Reddit who actually lives near Virginia Tech who got me a lot of really good information for this video, so I'm going to definitely, do that, but he wants to stay anonymous, so I'm not going to put his name into it. There's also, I think, a few reviews I have written down somewhere for a couple video games, one of them being Shell Shock Nom 67. Again, I don't want to spoil too much about it, but it's quickly becoming one of my favorite war games of all time. It is the most barbaric, gruesome, fucked up Vietnam War game I have ever played. And for a PS2 game, the camera and shooting controls, they're fucking like a hot knife cutting through butter. It is a beauty to play. Kind of like SOCOM, but a little less stealthy. That's all I'm going to say about that. And another game I really want to review is Max Payne, because I was replaying that. I pretty much finished it, and then I was like, shit, I want to play 2 after this, and then 3. So I might do that. I don't know if the video is going to be 1, 2, 3 all in one. Definitely going to do it, but I think I'm going to section them off just so I don't, again, overwhelm myself. So let's see. Max Payne, Nom 67. And I think I was planning on doing Manhunt, but like, again, I don't want to get ahead of myself. There's a lot of games I've been playing recently with the guys, so hopefully that will be out soon. I'm pretty fucking ripped right now, so I don't want to keep droning on and on here and saying a lot of like shit and blah. But yeah, thank you guys for staying with the channel. Thank you for enjoying the uploads and just being here, not ditching us. We're gonna try to be consistent in 2025. I got a day off tomorrow, so I'm gonna try to get off my ass and do a review. I don't know exactly what yet, but it will be there hopefully. I hope you guys had a good Christmas, a good New Year's, and all that fucking lame shit. Blaze up a blunt for your boy. Yeah, fucking good to hear from you guys again, and I hope y'all stay tuned. The Son of Bat saying peace.